Good evening. Welcome to the December 5th, 2022 meeting of the Stillwater City Council. This time I will call the meeting to order and I'll ask that you all stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up tonight we have a consent docket. I do have a request from staff to strike item E from the consent docket, so we'll take that off. Is there a motion or other action regarding the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket minus item E.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve consent minus item E. Please vote. That's approved with a vote of 5-0. No one signed up for public comment on items not up for public hearing tonight. We will not deal with item E. That'll come back at a later time. So that takes us to item 6 on the agenda, general orders. First up, consider approving the purchase of property at 619th West 12th Avenue. Mr. Brady Moore.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Brady Moore on behalf of the City Manager's Office. We are grateful to be able to present to you an opportunity for the city to acquire an important and historic building in our community. The Booker T. Washington School, located on the south side of 12th Avenue between Knobloch and Hester, was recently placed on the 2022 list of most endangered places by Preservation Oklahoma. In the first half of the 20th century, there were more than 50 black schools located throughout the state of Oklahoma. The majority of these schools have already been demolished and lost from the opportunity to preserve. Booker T. Washington School is one of only 3 remaining examples and is the only one available for potential acquisition for preservation. We know the preservation and restoration of the original structures of the Washington School has been the desire of previous city councils and generations of Stillwater citizens. And we're excited to let you know that a donor that has wished to stay anonymous has generously agreed to donate $250,000 to the City of Stillwater for the purchase of the property at 619 West 12th Avenue. The donor will receive a tax donation letter from the city for the donated funds, and in addition, the city will provide the sellers a tax donation letter for the balance of the property appraisal above the $250,000 donation to secure the purchase. The purpose of this donation to the city is for the preservation of the Booker T. Washington School, the original T-shaped structures, and surrounding land for the uses of education, historical displays, sports recreation, events, and parking. These exclusive uses will be documented in a restrictive covenant after closing. City management will be pursuing grant opportunities and community support for the cost to preserve, develop, maintain the property. There is no financial impact to the city for the transaction to acquire the property. I have a recommendation, but I'll pause now to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Brady. Councilors?
Brady, you mentioned that the focus of preservation is for the original T-shaped portion. Can you just kind of clarify? I think there's some auxiliary structures that are associated with the property that are likely not on track to be preserved because they're not as historic and.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah, it's a great question. In fact, Kevin, can you pull up the picture on the computer? There we go. So this is the picture that's on the report in the agenda packet, but this is the original, what I call T structure, but the original buildings. It's the large front original school building with the gymnasium attached. It's most people probably drive by this and don't even recognize, but if you take the time to look at those original structures, you'll see that original brick, the original architecture. It's a really great building, and so it's neat that we can show that off. The other buildings will most likely have to be torn down to show that and preserve properly, of course, with the being in the flood plain, what we need to do to possibly raise the floors in the buildings to be able to preserve it and use it. And so, yeah, this is just that first step.
just wanted to make sure. Sometimes, we talk
Yeah.
about owning these properties, and then if things start coming down, people might be surprised. So, but it's certainly, like so many schools, right? There was additions and things like that. So some things are considered historic and worth preservation, and other things are just really damaged and dilapidated to the point of not being able to recover them. So.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Other questions, counselors?
I just have a comment. I'm excited about this opportunity to preserve this school. Probably the only one in the whole state that will ultimately end up being preserved as a museum, as a gathering place, as a meeting place. This is a tremendous opportunity. I want to thank the anonymous donor, and I want to thank the seller who has come down significantly off their asking price to make this happen. And they both have stepped up and have been very civically minded in making this happen, and I want to thank them for that.
Yeah, I agree with those. Thanks, and our city manager as well for the work he put into this. I know there's a lot of citizens excited about all the things you have discussed, the preservation, the way we can restore this and use it in the right manner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting. This has been a topic of conversation for a long time in terms of our community, and I know there are a lot of folks out there who are already planning, what can be done in terms of funding to bring this back up to something that we can display and show and talk about history and all that sort of stuff with it. So I think, Mr. Minigal, there's a Washington School Alumni Association, correct, of folks, either alumni or family of alumni. They've been part of this discussion to this point?
Absolutely.
Right there.
Well, at least one representative. The
Okay.
President, Karen Washington, I've spoken with her several times about the building, and I think
They're here.
they're here.
We're just talking about you.
So I think one of the concerns that existed in their mind is what's it going to cost us to have the building to be able to do historical displays and education and community events and then recreation in the gym. And because the city has not had that building in its possession, because we were still talking with the benefactor about uses of the building, that was not something that we were able to hammer out prior to this meeting. But as we have learned in other facilities that we have, generally the public's better at running a building, particularly that one, than the city would be, and it would be our intent to enter into an MOU with the Alumni Association to do just that, and without insurance costs and big lease costs or that kind of thing. So,
Good. That's awesome. And there will be you said a restrictive covenant on the preservation of the original structure itself and limiting it to the uses of just education, historical displays, potentially community uses, sports recreation, that kind of thing for that facility itself.
That's the intent. Yes, sir.
I guess I would want to clarify, at this point, we're just acquiring the property. We don't actually have funds to make any of that stuff happen right now,
That's
including
right.
the demolition
That's
of
right.
the older portion, or
it,
the newer portions.
it could take us several years to accumulate enough funds to be able to do what needs to be done to the building. Now, some initial cleanup to make it look better than it does today, those kinds of things I think we can accomplish, but in terms of long-term investment, that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
And there's also an effort being led by a professor on campus toward preserving this building and raising money and doing all those things as well,
And
which is important.
She is I've talked to Dr. Arata, and she's
Yes.
very optimistic about the ability to raise funds to do those things that we want to do to preserve the building.
Terrific.
Well, sometimes that first step leads to
Yeah.
the rest of it, so first step.
Yeah, I mean, because without this property being within the city or within the private, some sort of private nonprofit hands, none of that could really happen. And so getting it back where it should have been in terms of ownership is the first step there. So that's a That's good, and we certainly appreciate the work that you all have put in to making this happen. And as Councilor Clark said, the donors, the private donor, and also the owner who's been willing to sell it at that reduced price, we appreciate their willingness in this effort as well. What's your recommendation for us?
Recommendation is a motion to approve the purchase of property at 619 West 12th Avenue and authorize the city manager to sign the real estate purchase contract.
Councilors?
I move to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of this property. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that item is approved. Now the real work starts, right?
Indeed.
All right, that takes us to item 7 on the agenda, resolutions. First up is Resolution CC 2022-34, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Stillwater approving an amendment to the lease agreement and operation and maintenance contract between the City of Stillwater and the Stillwater Utilities Authority, and authorizing the mayor to finalize and execute the proposed amendment to the lease agreement.
I'd be happy to
Please
give it a
please.
preview. So the city currently leases its water, sewer, and electric systems and improvements to the SUA to operate the utility. The current lease agreement is set to expire June 30th, 2049. To ensure uninterrupted operation of the SUA, we do need to extend the term of the lease by 20 years. This is primarily in connection to SUA applying for loans, grants, those types of financing transactions that they like to see, that they'll have a lease term in place throughout the term of those financing. In addition, there is one diesel generation unit located at the water treatment plant that was decommissioned pursuant to a prior resolution, and this just removes that property from the lease agreement. And because the value of the lease agreement, the personal property and assets exceeds $250,000, it's subject to 4-2 of the charter, which requires that once you approve the amendment, that it is subject to an ordinance with a referendum period as well.
All right, so after this, we'll have the ordinance?
The ordinance is on for first read today.
Yeah. Okay. Councilors, any questions about the resolution? Is there proposed action on the item?
Motion to adopt resolution number CC-2022-34.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. Items approved with a vote of 5-0. 7B is Resolution CC-2022-35, a resolution providing lessee content to mortgage the leasehold improvements as required by the terms of the Stillwater Regional Airport Ground Lease Agreement, SRA 2008-01, and authorizing the city manager to sign related documents necessary for such purchase. Are you going to explain this one too?
I'd be happy to.
Please.
At the November 7th meeting, council approved assignment of a hangar lease agreement from Special Exploration Company to Alex Detweiler. Subsequent to that meeting, Dr. Detweiler requested SRA consent as required by the lease to mortgage that transaction, and this resolution just authorizes that mortgage, not on the real property, but just the leasehold improvements on the ground, and authorizes the city manager to sign any documents necessary for that purpose.
Thank you, Ms. Carnley. Councilors, any questions? Is there an action for the item?
Motion to adopt resolution CC-2022-35.
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Please vote. Resolution is adopted with a vote of 5-0. Item 8 is ordinances on first read. We have ordinance 3512, an ordinance closing a portion of rights-of-way of South Duncan Street, East Block 63, original town site of Stillwater, in addition to the city of Stillwater, Payne County, Oklahoma, near property addressed as 1202 South Duncan Street. Councilors, questions? Motions?
Move to advance ordinance 3512 to second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3512 is advanced to second reading. Item B is ordinance 3517, an ordinance authorizing the extension of the lease term and removal of the 2 megawatt diesel generation unit located at the water treatment plant from the lease agreement and operation and maintenance contract dated April 1st, 1979, providing for citizen-initiated referendum of said lease in accordance with Section 4.2 of the city charter. Councilors.
Motion to advance ordinance number 3517 to second read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to advance the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the ordinance is advanced to second read. On second read, we have item A, ordinance 3046, corrected, an ordinance correcting the legal description of ordinance 3046, closing the Hartford Street right-of-way between properties addressed as 798 and 1060 East Knott's Avenue.
Move to adopt ordinance 3046 corrected.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, that ordinance is adopted. Item B is ordinance 3511, an ordinance closing a portion of rights-of-way of South Duncan Street, East Block 63, original town site of Stillwater, in addition to the city of Stillwater, Payne County, Oklahoma, near property addressed as 1206 South Duncan Street.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3511.
Second.
With a motion and a second, please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3511 is adopted. Item C is ordinance 3513, an ordinance rezoning attractive land located at 2817 East 6th Avenue from commercial shopping light industrial to commercial general.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3513.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3513 is now adopted. Item D, ordinance 3514, an ordinance rezoning attractive land located at 4703 North Washington Street from small lot single-family residential to two-family residential.
Motion to adopt ordinance 3514.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Ordinance 3514 is adopted with a vote of 5-0. Item E, ordinance 3515, an ordinance rezoning attractive land located at 2318 and 2322 North Washington Street from small lot single-family residential to commercial general.
Move to adopt ordinance 3515.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, ordinance 3515 is adopted. And item F, ordinance 3516, an ordinance rezoning attractive land located at 2000 South Sanger Road from small lot single-family residential to office, and attractive land located at 2100 South Sanger Road from two-family residential to office.
Motion to adopt ordinance number 3516.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt the ordinance. Please vote. Ordinance 3516 is adopted 5-0. That takes us to reports from the officers and the board. Ms. Carnley.
Request for an executive session pursuant to 25 OS Section 307B4 involving confidential communication between the City Council and the City Attorney concerning Randy Blake for City of Stillwater Workers' Compensation. Court case number CM 2021-03414L is the opinion of the City Attorney. The disclosure of the matter will seriously impair the ability of the City Council to process the proceeding in the public interest.
Thank you, Kimberly. Mr. McNichol.
Yes, sir. Last week, ODOT began the demolition process on the South Mountain Lane of Perkins Road.
Don't I know it?
This is Phase 2, the Perkins Road construction project, and will be the same process as Phase 1, but now with what was the two southbound lanes involved. There will be one lane going in both directions. It will remain that way until the project is finished. And we greatly appreciate our community members and patrons for not only their continued patience with this much-needed infrastructure project, but for their ongoing support of local businesses. Some of the direct entrances into business parking lots have been affected by the construction, and we appreciate consumers making extra effort to take the travel detours and support local. The other thing that I would like to encourage people to do is where it says no left turn, that means no left turn. And it's there to try to move traffic in an already difficult situation. So save yourself $100 or so and don't make a left turn where it's prohibited. And please stop where it says to stop. At any rate, for updated information on the Perkins Road project, visit stillwater.org and click on the red traffic advisory banner at the top of the page.
Thank you so much for the reminder, I was over there this weekend doing some shopping on that
So was
side of the
I.
road, and it was doable. I also was ferrying a child from the high school to the junior high today, and they were tearing up that intersection at Lakeview. So there was a person with a sign, and it was slow, but everybody took their time and was patient. At least acted patient. In my head, I was not so patient. We made it through. It's going to be done next summer? That the plan?
August-ish.
August-ish?
is the plan.
That's summer. Thank you, Norman.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, on December 1st, we had the annual Stillwater Holiday Parade of Lights. It was truly a memorable and enjoyable event for everyone, and we had the most parade entries since pre-pandemic. We so appreciate the hard work and collaboration of volunteers, local groups, and city staff to increase the safety efforts and organization. Many thanks to the big guy from the North Pole for joining us and our parade marshals, Denise and Alex Weber. The judges had a tough job this year. The 2022 Stillwater Holiday Parade of Light Contest winners are Best Commercial and Business Entry, Deck the Palms with Stillwater Medical Center. Best Community Entry, Stillwater Elks Lodge, number 1859. Best Band Entry, Perkins Tryon Midnight Regiment. Chick-fil-A Judges Selection, Stillwater Elks Lodge, 1859. So thank you to everyone who participated in that. It was, once again, the weather was great, and it is really a fun parade to watch.
And there was a big crowd.
There was a
Yep.
big crowd.
Thank you. Councilor Hawkins?
Many thanks to our Stillwater Police Department for their continued collaboration with Stillwater Public Schools to ensure the annual Shop with a Cop event is successful. This past Saturday, 25 boys and girls were each given a $200 gift card to spend while shopping with their law enforcement friends from the Stillwater Police Department, OSU Campus Police Department, Payne County Sheriff's Office, and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. It was a great morning that included breakfast, shopping, and most importantly, building relationships.
That's awesome.
And I'm
It's a
always
really great
amazed
event.
these children buy for their siblings, their parents, their grandparents. It's just, they don't think about themselves. It's magical.
Awesome. Councilor Jaloski?
Oh, I get to talk about our police department too. Every year, as part of Merry Main Street, our Stillwater Fire and Police Departments join the holiday season fun and host free community events. This past Saturday was S'mores with the Fire Department, and it was a great success. This coming Saturday from 2 to 4 p.m. will be Cops with Cookies at South Duncan Street and West 8th Avenue. We hope our residents and patrons can participate in these fun events, including free carriage rides, holiday lights set to music at Chris Salmon Plaza, Santa and Sensitive Santa from the North Pole, and much more. Don't forget to shop SUA and support local businesses for your holiday gifts and food. A list of holiday festivities and events can be found at stillwater.org and at visitstillwater.org. So much fun stuff happening.
Absolutely. Councilor Clark?
The Stillwater Fire Department encourages residents who live outside city limits but within the Stillwater Fire Department's response area to purchase a rural fire service contract for 2023. These $100 contracts ensure that response fees for each fire incident on a contracted property will not exceed $2,000. All collected fees go toward training, rescue tools, and other fire equipment. Visit stillwater.org/fire to download the application.
Thank you, Councilor Clark. I get the best announcement of the evening, I think, because I get to talk to you about how proud we are of Stillwater Public Schools, which we are in general all of the time, but to add to the long list of things we're proud about, the Pioneer football team won the 6A2 state championship this last Friday. They were also the state academic champions with the highest grade point average of football teams in the state. So very proud of both of those accomplishments. Friday they beat Choctaw 26-21 and finished undefeated for this season, clinching our first state title since 1967. So congratulations to the Pioneers. All right. At this time, I will move to adjourn the city council meeting before item 11.
Recess.
Recess, not adjourn. Knew that was the wrong word. To recess the city council meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess the city council meeting before item 11. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the city council will now be in recess. At this time, I would like to call to order the Stillwater Utilities Authority meeting for December 5th, 2022. Is there action on the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the consent docket is approved. Item 5 on the agenda is resolutions. Resolution number SUA 2022-10 is a resolution approving a proposed amendment to the lease agreement and operation and maintenance contract between the City of Stillwater and the Stillwater Utilities Authority, authorizing the chairman to finalize and execute proposed amendment, authorizing the chairman upon advice and consultation with bond counsel to take such actions as are appropriate or necessary to modify or amend the terms of the bond indenture between the Stillwater Utilities Authority and Bank of Oklahoma N.A. dated September 1st, 2002, as appropriate by reason of the amendment to the lease agreement.
This is essentially the same resolution that I introduced on the city council agenda with additional authority that should bond council decide an amendment is necessary to release the generator from the water treatment plant that where he is authorized to do so.
Trustees, any questions? Is there a motion on the resolution?
Motion to adopt resolution number SUA-2022-10.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, resolution SUA 2022-10 is adopted. Are there any reports from the officers or the board? Is there a motion to adjourn SUA?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the SUA. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, Stillwater Utilities meeting is now adjourned. This time, I will call back to order the Stillwater City Council meeting. At item 11 on the agenda, do we have a motion to enter executive session for the purposes requested by the city attorney?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to enter executive session. Please vote. With the vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council will now enter executive session. All right, do we have a motion to reconvene in regular session?
Motion to reconvene?
We have a motion and a second to reconvene the Stillwater City Council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now returned to regular session. City Attorney, do we have a recommended action?
Yes, I recommend action, a motion to approve a release of covenant not to appeal agreement, if there is one.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve a release and covenant not to appeal. Please vote. That item is approved with a vote of 5-0. We have nothing else on the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn the City Council?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to adjourn City Council. Please vote. With a vote of 5-0, the Stillwater City Council is now adjourned, and that concludes our meetings for the evening.